In the bustling heart of Chicago's Loop District, where the morning rush hour painted the streets with hurried footsteps and steaming coffee cups, Emily Harper wiped down the counter of the corner diner for what felt like the thousandth time. At 28, with dreams of becoming a teacher long deferred by student loans and a single mother's responsibilities, Emily found solace in the quiet rhythm of her early shifts. But it was the arrival of Mrs. Evelyn Whitaker every morning at precisely 7:15 that truly brightened her day. The old woman, frail and silver-haired, would shuffle in with a worn wool coat that had seen better decades, her eyes carrying the weight of unspoken stories. Emily didn't know much about her, just that she lived alone in a nearby apartment building and preferred her eggs over easy with black coffee. What started as a simple act of service had blossomed into something more. Emily would always save the booth by the window, slip an extra slice of toast on the plate, and listen to Evelyn's tales of a bygone era, when the city was alive with jazz clubs and post-war optimism. Evelyn's visits were a constant in Emily's chaotic life. Raising her 5-year-old daughter, Lily, on a waitress's salary meant scraping by, bills piled up like autumn leaves, and the diner's tips barely covered rent in their cramped one-bedroom. Yet, every morning, Emily made time for Evelyn. She'd help her out of her coat, steady her walker, and sometimes even tie her shoelaces when arthritis made it impossible. "You're an angel, dear," Evelyn would say, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Emily would blush and wave it off, replying, "Just doing what anyone would." But deep down, she knew it wasn't true. In a world where people scrolled past each other on phones, kindness felt like a rare currency. Emily's own mother had taught her that, before cancer took her too soon, leaving Emily to navigate adulthood alone. Helping Evelyn was her way of paying it forward, a small rebellion against the indifference that seemed to choke the city. As weeks turned into months, their routine deepened. Evelyn shared fragments of her life: a husband lost in Vietnam, children who had scattered across the country, pursuing careers that left little room for visits. "They call on holidays," she'd say with a wistful smile, "but it's the everyday that gets lonely." Emily, in turn, opened up about Lily's infectious laugh, her struggles with night classes at community college, and the gnawing fear that she'd never escape the cycle of poverty. One particularly chilly November morning, Evelyn arrived looking paler than usual, her hands shaking as she clutched her purse. "Rough night?" Emily asked, pouring her coffee. Evelyn nodded, admitting she'd fallen in her apartment and bruised her hip. Without hesitation, Emily called in a favor from a coworker to cover her shift and walked Evelyn home, arm in arm, up 3 flights of stairs. She helped her settle in, made tea, and even picked up groceries on her way back. It was nothing, Emily told herself, just humanity at its core. The diner owner, Mr. Rossi, noticed Emily's absences but never complained. "You've got a good heart, kid," he'd grumble, though his eyes twinkled with approval. The other waitresses teased her gently, calling her Saint Emily, but she shrugged it off. Kindness wasn't about recognition, it was about connection. In a nation divided by politics and screens, where headlines screamed of division and despair, Emily's mornings with Evelyn reminded her that small acts could bridge the widest gaps. She imagined Evelyn as the grandmother she never had, and in those quiet conversations, she found strength to face her own battles. Lily adored hearing stories about Grandma Eve, as she called her, and Emily dreamed of introducing them one day. But life, as it often does, threw an unexpected curve. It was a crisp spring morning in April, the kind where cherry blossoms dusted the sidewalks like confetti. Emily was midway through her shift when the diner's bell jingled louder than usual. In walked 4 imposing men in dark suits, earpieces glinting under the fluorescent lights. They scanned the room with practiced efficiency, their postures screaming security. Behind them trailed 2 sharp-dressed individuals, a man and a woman, carrying briefcases that looked more expensive than Emily's monthly rent. The diner fell silent, forks hovered midair as patrons gawked. Emily's heart skipped a beat. Were they here for trouble? Had something happened to Evelyn? She hadn't shown up that morning, which was unusual. One of the bodyguards approached the counter, his voice low and authoritative. "We're looking for Emily Harper." Her name on his lips sent a chill down her spine. "That's me," she replied, wiping her hands on her apron, trying to steady her voice. The lawyers stepped forward, introducing themselves as representatives from Whitaker Enterprises. Whitaker. Emily's mind raced. Evelyn's last name. The woman, Ms. Langford, pulled out a thick envelope. Mrs. Evelyn Whitaker passed away peacefully last night, she said gently, her eyes softening. Emily's world tilted. Passed away. No, that couldn't be. Just yesterday, Evelyn had laughed at one of Lily's drawings Emily had shown her on her phone. Tears welled up as the diner blurred around her. The bodyguards cleared a space, and Ms. Langford continued. Mrs. Whitaker was not who she appeared to be. She was the reclusive widow of Theodore Whitaker, founder of one of the largest tech conglomerates in the Midwest. She lived simply by choice, shunning the spotlight after her husband's death. Emily's jaw dropped. Evelyn. Wealthy. The old woman who pinched pennies on her diner tab. It didn't make sense. The lawyer handed her the envelope. In her will, she left you a substantial inheritance, enough to pay off your debts, fund your education, and secure a future for your daughter. Emily's hands trembled as she opened it, a check for $500,000, along with a letter in Evelyn's shaky handwriting. Dearest Emily, in my long life, I've seen fortunes rise and fall, but nothing compares to the wealth of a kind heart. You gave me companionship when I was invisible to the world. You reminded me of the girl I once was, full of hope and fire. Use this to chase your dreams, and remember, kindness is the true legacy we leave behind. With eternal gratitude, Evelyn. The words hit Emily like a wave, crashing over her with profound realization. All those mornings weren't just routine, they were lifelines. Evelyn hadn't been a poor widow, she'd been testing the waters of humanity, seeking genuine connection in a world that had isolated her with wealth. The unexpected turn wasn't just the inheritance, it was understanding that Evelyn's frailty masked a strength born from loss, and Emily's selflessness had healed wounds neither had voiced. As the news sank in, the diner erupted in whispers. Mr. Rossi hugged her tightly, tears in his eyes. You deserved this, kid. But the emotional climax came later that evening, when Emily sat with Lily on their worn couch, reading Evelyn's letter aloud. Lily's eyes widened. Mommy, does this mean we can get a house with a yard? Emily nodded, choking back sobs. It wasn't the money that transformed her, it was the validation that her quiet acts of compassion had rippled outward, changing lives in ways she never imagined. She thought of the countless Americans grinding through daily struggles, from factory workers in the Rust Belt to single parents in bustling cities, all capable of the same quiet heroism. In the days that followed, Emily enrolled in teaching courses, quit the diner with Mr. Rossi's blessing, and started a small foundation in Evelyn's name to help elderly residents in the community. She visited Evelyn's grave, whispering thanks for the lesson. In a divided world, selflessness unites us. The inheritance wasn't just financial, it was a spark of hope,